either musical or whatever, films that inspired Adam to X.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Who inspired us?
Yes.
Oh, this is a long time ago you're talking about now, isn't it?
You remember.
No, my mind is obliterated. I think we had a lot of like Italian film soundtracks that we were listening to. A lot of...
Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff that Barry was bringing into the table. Like he'd go out and he'd find loads of really weird records and bring them back and say, listen to this, and we'd go, ah. And, you know, we were also listening to a lot of, like, Walter Carlos, Wendy Carlos, a lot of sci-fi stuff, a lot of imagery. A lot of science fiction imagery. Andromeda Strain, of course.
Electronic music?
A lot of electronic music. But we weren't really trying to replicate anything. We were trying to do things from images more than sound. It was more of a kind of like a competition to go away from the whole Britpop thing that was happening at the time, which we hated. We hated the whole Britpop thing that was happening. And we really wanted to try and find something else. And we couldn't look into the future because that hadn't happened yet. So we had to go backwards. And we had to go backwards quite far and look into sort of sci-fi films that we loved and try and get something from that. And ultimately we were disappointed, so we ended up making our own sound.
I see. Back to 2011, what are you doing at the moment?
At the moment,
yes.
I'm still trying to find those sounds that shiver me, make me shiver, and make me want to curl up and die happily. But you're always searching for things, aren't you? And I think what we're looking at now is a new band that Mark and I really are working with called The Horn Hunt. And I think I'm trying to find my sound in them.
Yeah, what about large numbers?
Large numbers gone to bed now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For good, or are they going to wake up, you know, sometime soon?
No.
What about, I think you also running a label. Do you want to talk about this?
Oh yeah, can I have one more cigarette?
Yeah, of course.
Do you mind?
No.
Can I can smoke this?
Yeah.
It sounds like, it's like America.
Yes.
Oh, it sounds like it. Yeah, we're doing the record label. And so it's me and Mark doing the record label together. And Gary's doing some work with our PR department. Gary Hensley. Hello. Groupie.
Hello, Gary. Hi, Gary.
Groupie.
Yeah. I like this. Amateur to professionalism, eh?
Sorry?
That's good. From,
I don't think I've ever been professional about anything.
The end of romance, you know, professionalism now. You know, after romance, romantic, you know.
Am I romantic?
You used to be romantic, now professional.
No, yeah.
No, I'm still the romantic.
Yeah, you don't, it's not professional PR, you don't get, you know.
No, I do, because I love the music.
How do you feel about me now?
Is it the same?
Still the same, yeah.
What?
Is it?
I love you very much. No. Yeah.
How much do you love me?
Oh, loads. You know.
Okay.
No, I can. I'm still searching for the perfect sound, and I want to help out any way I can.
Do you think there is a perfect sound anyway?
No, but that's the point, isn't it? That's what we're searching for. I hope I never find it.
When you find it, you die.
The journey's more interesting than the destination.
That's what I think too. I mean, this is it. Yeah. So, white label music. Do you want to talk about, you know, some artists that you point out? You know, do you have any interesting acts we should be aware of?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have so many great bands. I mean, at the moment.
You don't want to pick out some names. Do you want to refer to some names, or you prefer to?
Yeah. No, I'd say the bands that are working at the moment: The Horn, The Hunt, Sunset People, Jace Stansfield, My Head Is a Balloon, Lord Numb, Auto Rotation. I could go on and on and on and on. We have a lot of bands we're working with, and it's a constant, like you're always, it never comes to a static point. It's a constant journey finding something, and it's like you kind of think sometimes. So when do we get to the finishing point? And you never get to the finishing point because you're constantly doing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that the current government, British government, is helping music expand in any ways? Or Cameron? Are you fond of David Cameron? Do you think he's good, or he's like a bit of Thatcherism, Thatcherism back in the UK?
The arts are being cut. There's been a lot of cuts everywhere. Even like if you look at Devon or some like little place in England where the white bus service has been stopped, so old ladies can't get to the shop. But yes, they just like put like how many £1 million into Libya, bombing it. It's shit, and it's always been shit.
Isn't he worse than the previous?
You know.
Isn't he worse than Gordon Brown or even Blair? I think he's worse.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He really is a piece of
At least
shit.
on Blair you should.
He has no idea of the way that most people in England live. He's got no idea. He's an education that's like beyond. His education costs more than most people earn in their lives. It's so difficult, Gary, isn't it, to actually say it very succinctly in a very short time.
2 months ago there were problems with students. There were some riots with students, during
but then again,
because of rises in the funds for universities. I think
historically speaking, though, in England, we're sort of in a similar time now we were back in the 1970s. And because of the austerity then...
You don't mean in London?
Music exploded.
You mean in London?
Yeah, well, in England. And I'm hoping that music will explode again because of these severe cuts, because people will find a way of channeling it.
But do you think there are bands that can boost, the music, forward? I mean,
Strokes regardless of nuclear war or, the cuts. It depends on the love of the artists and community.
Which British UK artists do you think that can move the things forward? I mean, back in the 70s, late 70s, there were Joy Division, bands like this, Sex Pistols. Do you think there's any band that can push?
We're a X Factor bands at the moment, so it's not going to happen at the moment. Something else, it'll be...
Something's going to have to happen. Very, very well. It will happen anyway. Like that, Gary's saying, there's going to be an undercurrent, like the way that punk exploded, like fuck the system. There's going to be, and that's what's good about. I don't want to blow my own trumpet.
Sorry to say that punk wasn't a bit of, especially with Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
They played in, in safe ground. I mean, it was a managerial thing.
We're living in very safe times again, very conservative times again.
Yes, but
we're going to have another explosion.
Sex Pistols was a product of consumption, overconsumption. I mean, nothing more. I mean, it wasn't punk. It wasn't pure. At least for me, McLaren, sold it 100% punk. The hair, the fashion.
I actually hate McLaren.
Good music, but not.
I saw him do a lecture. I saw McLaren do a lecture a couple of years ago. In Stockholm, and it was embarrassing. It was disgusting. It was like he said that he invented the hypodermic needle. He invented the safety pin. He was showing a slide thing and like all these images, and it was like, what are you saying? You didn't invent these things. These are images that already existed. But he was like, he was such an absolute hateful person.
What is your opinion of bands like Editors or White Lies who try to, let's say, remake this late 70s, early 80s era? But, what do you think of this band?
You can try and relive it, you can try and repaste it, you can try and Photoshop yourself onto it. But it has to, like Gary just said, it has to come out of an actual big public and civic dispute. when there's a big kind of like change in music, it comes from like a civil thing. And I think there is something definitely brewing underneath. I don't know what the hell it's going to be. And I'll probably be too old to understand it. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that with our label, we can actually take on the small band, the small person that is goth and fucked up. We're not a major label that's saying, okay, is she too fat? Is he too old? Is he too kind of like weird? You know, we can actually take on board people like that. So I suppose that ultimately we're doing something that the only way we can do it.
The major labels are crashing whilst smaller, say, boutique labels like White Label.
Any other indie labels you are fond of? Other alternative labels around you like?
We don't mention them. We don't mention them.
No one, yeah. So anything else you would like to add? Last word belongs to you. Whatever.
Well, you know, when we do protest in England, it's like very, very kind of like, we don't do it very violently, do we? We did it, but the one guy who put in prison for throwing the fire extinguisher off the top of the building, and I think he ended up with 2 years in prison. There were no deaths, which is good. There were no deaths.
Although I think we're happy here, happier than our country, than Greece. They are not so gloomy. No, even if the weather is not so good, although the days is quite good.
Yeah.
People seem happier than in Greece. No, you know what I mean? I mean, Greece is deep into crisis the last 2 years.
I don't know. I mean,
here people seem a bit more. They don't look so gloomy. I mean, and they don't seem, you know, in their own space. I mean, they communicate. I mean, it's not so bad. At least in London, is it? I mean, or is it my tourist, let's say, experience?
Yeah, it's your experience.
I am happy. I don't know.
That's your experience.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to sort of like pinpoint it.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you sum up a whole country? I can't.
In Paris we saw crisis. You went to Paris, we visited Paris 2 years ago, and I saw the crisis. I saw people, you know, searching the trash cans, trash bins, and trying to find food. Tube was really smelling. Gloomy. It wasn't the same like London. I mean, London still, I think, stands.
But you've got to realise, London is a showpiece. London is a show centre. So people come to London, and they look at London and think, the rest of England is fine, because they look at London. If you go outside of London, it's a completely different story. And I think that's the story that no one actually sees. A bit like if you think of like Athens, and then you see slightly out of Athens, there's a completely different story. It's all the places slightly outside of the city centre that people forget about or don't realise that what shit is really happening and how awful it really is for certain communities. And it's, you know, it's depressing. It's really depressing.
Okay, I have thank you for this.
I'm glad that we finished on a high note.
And hopefully, for me at least, another reunion, another decade, or whatever. Another avant-garde number 2, remastered, whatever.
Evie's going to be doing her interview afterwards. She gets very nervous.
That's okay.
Alright.
Thank you.
Okay. See you inside.